And she was playing Whipley, oh Michelle, as in whipping. And then there was a tall guy. There were so many people you wouldn't believe it. And a couple weirdos at the bus stop telling me something. So this is Lisa Guthrie. I'm on Route 45. It's 6:38 p.m. It's Friday. This thing's playing Submissive. I think she's a blood. No, you'll have to lighten this. And nobody's going to listen to a dog butt. And remember, everybody in Washington is a cannibal zombie. Done. And this is a different phone. My other phone's conked out. This is a very inexpensive phone. I just wanted to try it. So much for other phones with deductibles that I don't even think are worth the phone. This thing just stuck her hand up in a signal again. And I was at Greenwood, Fred Meyer, and there were a lot of weirdos. Can't even imagine. And one followed at least from to two Greenwood Plaza, including a black male with a fair-sized laptop. He was sitting on the window area, like a two-seater. And that was about 40 minutes ago. And he is dangerous. And then there was a female with a medium tan complexion and nose ring. And she was with a whiter-looking female. And the female told me I was Whipley for Michelle, something to that effect. These things actually took over 14 years ago. Cannibal zombies that are gang members. And they act like they can punish you. They act like it's their own third world country. That woman was in the fruit area, fruit and vegetable area, slightly past. And what they did in Washington is they targeted white-looking Semites and warm-skinned Europeans. So that ugly guy, he was thin. He seemed to be wearing darkish, grayish to black clothing. He was inside, like I said, and he was in the window area. And there were other weirdos too, like a tall, white, loosely based white, dark hair. He was, he kept popping out of nowhere, telling me that I was going to do this and that. And he also mentioned a storeroom. So what had happened in Washington is that if you were white, Semite, or warm-skinned European, or white-looking, you'd be tracked by literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of morons that basically committed a genocide. And so it was imperative that I bought phones, even though they're inexpensive, and I bought insurance for them. And believe me, even if someone did steal them, they're very undesirable phones. I mean, they're not high demand at all.
Next stop, Aurora Avenue North.
But I needed, night after night, I needed more security, and I needed to be able to charge my phones. I hadn't been able to charge anything, and the electricity is so faulty anyway. And so there were problems with cords, sockets, plug-ins. It was like a merry-go-round of not having sufficient electricity, sufficient charge. He just signaled a gang signal on the face to the bus driver. Metro is a lot of ways that people went missing. He made like a Z shape. And I think he means sword. So he's playing with swords, possibly, because he made a Z sign like Zorro. It's not just. And a cutting sign. And these things are obsessed with cutting people's faces. And one of the reasons why is because it humiliates the victims, and then they can follow the victims around telling them how ugly they are. But it also destroys their appearance. But on Metro, I see people approaching the bus driver and vice versa constantly. 31 million people in 20 years alone didn't just go missing, but it's an 80-year war. I see that I'm analyzing actually the photography on this phone. It's an older phone, and it looks like it doesn't make strange light blobs. It looks a little sharper, even though it's not very many pixels. So I would think about next time when you make a slave threat, even though it's dark, you might get noticed. And she is a blood, by the way. Uh-oh, another gang in there. Uh-oh, she does blood and crypt, possibly. It's dark, I know. How many crypts can you see in the dark? Do crypts' eyes shine differently in the dark? I don't know. Or she's blood in with crypts. Now they've got a lot of bloods, but now it's primary gangs. Blood Zeta's Asian Street Gang, M1 MS13 in Washington. But at Green Lake Plaza Apartments, you'll have as many as 16 gangs. I don't want to overestimate. Around 13 sometimes. Why? Well, you've got people hiding from other gangs. You've got people, like you've got one idiot that's in 10 gangs. He's a black Nazi moron. From the Pike Place Market, ex-security guard. He was the gay lover of Officer Bobby of the West Precinct. They probably still follow around, and that's how the gangs get their weaponry, by the way, including uniforms. And the police department loves mentally ill people.
Next stop,
well, let's put it this way. The more evil they are, their record goes away. And so also, it doesn't matter if they're a moron or crazy, those are the ones that will have the guns and the other weapons. And they'll also have police uniforms, and they're usually friends with the police. It's a symbiotic relationship in Washington to cover up for the gangs, and the cops are usually running the gangs. Pretty much everybody's involved. Everybody's dirty, and I didn't want to overestimate, but there are some people I've heard that are actually running around with 3,000 identities.
Next stop, North 80th Street.
I had to buy a new door stick. You can't even see it. Well, maybe you can. The door stick had worn in from people trying to smash in the door, and the door, it's wood. You could actually see it kind of bulging, like, so your door stick can only take a few of those hits, and eventually it'll wear out. Plus, I lost the little key to it. It's like a little bolt that goes in. I've been improvising. I've been taking a rubber mallet and kind of fixing, like stringing it together, basically.
Next stop, East Green Lake Drive North and Wallingford Avenue North.
So that ugly black guy that was in Fred Meyer, he made a rape threat on behalf of the whole building. It's not uncommon to have a rape, slavery, mutilation threat, kidnapping threat, and then the bums like to play it's the whole building, and then they like to play, well, we're having a riot in the building if you don't let us in. And they are all Satanists, and I've heard animals being tortured, and I've heard people being tortured. And it smells like blood, fecal, and urine. And they're using 207 as kind of your one-stop area for bad cops and Crips and all sorts of gang members in 207. They use it as an ambush spot. And they can, try to kick your door in, and then they try to run safely back to 207. A dirty cop works for the building. His name is Officer Rob Howard.
Sunnyside Avenue North.
It's a little hard to pretend people are paranoid, though, when you have your door being pounded on and you can hear it. And maybe you could even see the wave action as it was being shouldered. Plus, somebody called the police when I had on another social media, and they heard noises while I was sleeping, and they blamed me, and they called the police.
Latona Avenue, Northeast, Green Lake Community Center, Green Lake Branch Library.
I'd been sleeping, and then I woke up, and this guy had been texting to someone making threats, apparently. And then a couple other times people did the same thing, but there was a police call when I was asleep. I was like, what? Who's here? I'd heard somebody in the hall earlier, so I don't know who called the police then. Might have been somebody online. I don't know. You have to be careful in my building because you get morons pretending they're medical or police, and they pretend they can drag you off. And, you know, just because they've cut up somebody with Officer Bobby or raped somebody and broken into people's houses, it doesn't mean that you can play policeman. But you've got some really psychotic people from Elizabeth Gregory Home and Aurora DSC and Roosevelt Self-Storage that consider themselves to be police, and the dirty police let them. But I do want to emphasize there are a lot of Crips in 207 lately. A lot. And sometimes there's as many as 10 wandering around from 207. I'm just fixing the seat so I can get clear. Getting out here with the big dolly, sir. And then there's they crawl up from the green areas of the building, so they all felt pretty safe hiding. It's electrical and water maintenance. I actually have construction people in my family that have been making and enhancing secret area buildings for years. Blackmer and Tudhope Construction, they're bad people. I wouldn't try anything. I have a temper. I'll fight with the ship. Go down with the ship. Guess I'm the ship. Ha ha ha. There's nobody else here. There's a weirdo from a building, but believe me, it's not innocent old ladies anymore. And low-income buildings, these are low-income, as far as I know, they're a deadly mix. Because then you had people that caved in to coercion and force by gang members. So it was like a caving in. Theoretically, things threatened me before. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to sit here for a second, just kind of rest. Went shopping. She came to state something. Even the old ladies are not trustworthy, believe it. They are not trustworthy. There's no old lady who's trustworthy even. They're all bad. Oh, and she's playing On Assignment. Ruefully On Assignment. These things chant psychotically all day long. And if you looked into them, you'd never let them in a bank again. You'd never let them near anybody. And you'd put all of them in hospitals. Noise. It's my charger. It's an inferior charging. Now, so, by the way, hoods. You won't see hoods as well if you're wearing a hood. Get it? Sure, it might keep you warm, but it blocks your visibility. And these buildings, by the way, a lot of these places would be worth about $2,600 a month, or some. This is an expensive area. And people will literally kill you here for an apartment. It's not just about money, property, credit. And they try to force their way in constantly. We're going to be approaching, and it's sort of the taller building. Whoops, surprised it stopped. A lot of zombies will try to run you over or shoot you and put you in a wall. So the building's coming up. And then, note, I keep nothing in the apartment. People will try to kick open the doors, enslave you, and they would love you to have a beautiful apartment all ready to go for the heroin addict, cannibal zombie things. The meth head. Some are on zombie drugs. They'd love you to have a beautiful apartment just for them. So, floor's dirty. Don't expect more than that. Don't expect anything in there. I now I've driven up to another bill. And the other bill is, so you have a cell phone, excuse me, and the cell phone is, it's 3 phone numbers. So that's more money. Then there were changeover bills. Now, I don't know if they were legal. Now, I'm going to tell you what happens in Seattle. Old men will try to take control of you that are dogs. And I'll tell you what will happen. Here, you better go in first because I'm fiddling around with this. You can let yourself in first.
No, you do.
Well, it's going to take me a while. But you don't want to tell me what to do because you're an ugly old man. And I will take you down, put you to a mental hospital or prison, whichever you prefer. And nobody will believe you because you're ugly. Yeah, I gotta and wash. I'll try to have you as a ugly boogie. Putting the ugly self. So what I always tell people is take them down one way or another. You can actually get them committed. If you can't get them arrested, get them dragged off because they can't take care of themselves. So yeah, that's the site of a lot of slave threats right there. Sorry, I can't answer the messages, but I saw what you said. Yeah, it's Green Lake Plaza Apartments. I'm glad it's going viral. It needs to. It's already a virus. So the ugly old man was actually nattering at me. And so the ugly old boogeyman needs to be told he was a boogeyman. And note, I don't spend any time here. And they will even try to hold you for captive in here. I keep nothing on purpose. Why? Well, not just to avoid people thinking they're going to have a beautiful apartment. It's also a nice way to state, well, you have to go out every day. There's nothing here. And, you know, especially, so it makes a trail online that I have to get out, and I can always already hear horse that are in that area. Melissa Udd is here. She is a dirty, gross relative. And her mother and father are Don and Larry Blackmer Construction, and they've been killing people and making people disappear since 1959, along with Michael Tudhope. Actually, Larry might have been before. I keep hearing different accounts. The thing is, guess what? Don and Larry, well, Don Blackmer's family was not clean. Neither was Blackmer Larry. And Michael Tudhope is Don's brother. I don't know now, it's such a Jerry Springer crime family, that Don Blackmer might actually be a bastard and not even related to my brother. And it's just a half sister and half brother. So I'm going to put this down for a minute so you don't have to look at my gross dirty floor. And then I check out the rest of the place. So I'm glad I was able to post online. So I was putting my shirt up, and then there was a bum telling me he saw me. There is nobody you'd want here, so there's no friends. There is no relative. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't want anybody because everybody's so nice. Watch English. It means there's nobody here to like, or that anyone would want, ever. They're grotesque zombies. I woke up 14 years ago, and I believe they're the downfall of mankind. They are repulsive foulness. Nobody would want them. Nobody would like them. Just like that ugly, I'm so glad you got to see one of those ugly boogeymen. And there was another ugly boogeyman. I think somebody saw him. It looked like Frankenstein. He's made a lot of threats as well. Now, there's nothing in this apartment. In fact, there's no reason. It's a terrible apartment. Oh yeah, the light's out. I have to figure out how to get up there. I don't have anything to stand on. It's not even worth putting any kind of furniture in here. And it's not even worth a chair that's $5 or $7. Certainly hasn't been worth a $9 chair, and nothing is even worth dollar store. And now somebody is cocking guns in 207. That is not unusual. So there are several people with guns, including 207 himself. And I think it's the ugly security guard thing I mentioned. Remember how retardos end up with the guns. And so it's a gay lover of Officer Bobby, and just like any gross mistress thing, it's full of itself. He's a retardo, and he's a drug addict. Oh, and he's playing interview as usual. And the thing is, what I told you before, I'll go down with a ship. So when they get a SWAT team, that's when I'm going to go outside. And remember, these are people that are so psychotic that somebody absolutely called the police on them. Twice me. How? Hearing it. So Officer Bobby's gay lover is here clicking guns in 207. Remember, gang members like what they think is their privacy. They're not entitled. So you can really F them up if you tell exactly what the bums are doing. And the bums like to play police, just as I've said. And the retardo is nattering about police, and he's not a policeman. He was like a butt buddy of a policeman. And by the way, don't expect any kind of politically correct from me. Right? There's nobody normal, and I don't care. They're zombies. So I'm not going to be polite and say, oh yes, that black gentleman, that white gentleman. There is no gentleman to begin with. The bomb is playing over to have you beg. Is that before the SWAT team gets here or after? I'm thinking it could be after the SWAT team shoots him. And after the SWAT team puts him in a mental institution with Officer Bobby of the Salem West Precinct. So remember, these are terrorists, and they're asking you to help them get to a mental hospital. If you can hear them ever, or if you see anything, and you need to have the whole building shut down and dragged away. It would actually be the best thing to get the whole building dragged off. And remember, they can't. They do slavery threats, including that ugly black creep or whatever that thing was downstairs. Part black, part whatever. Part who cares. It's a zombie. A zombie gang member moron. It's a maggot. So remember, the thing needs to be in a nursing home. Actually, just, I'd say an insane asylum. And the whole state needs. Oh, and the thing next door is actually shaking chains. So the thing in 207's company is shaking chains as usual. Oh, Officer Bobby, the other terrorist, is here. I'm shouting why? So people can hear. And there's a whore playing thrilling weapons here. These bums like to use the word thrill as in torture. They use gang code all the time, including the opposite of their intent, such as Friend Day. What is Friend Day? Oh, it's the first of the month where they're going to kill you for your money and take your identity even. And one of them is nattering because I told on his sword. I'll tell on anything you have, you ugly bitch. Ugly retardo. And remember, these things need to be treated as retards. Why? They are. They are retardos. They just ended up with the guns, but they are retardos. They ended up in control because they also targeted anyone pretty nice, normal, and they targeted talented. So what am I doing? I'm just putting stuff in front of my door to make it a little more difficult to come in. Might change the door stick. Wash my hands. I should have bought rubbing alcohol. I have some still. I have to go back for paper products. So the ugly last rapist, inside that is, before I went in for the paper, he had the computer, he had a big laptop, or fair size. He's actually a son of one of the retards here, and these things follow me around all the time. And then they brag about it. They think they're going to be anonymous if they send their friends. So you take care of that anonymous part. How? You put them on a social media. And even if they did something and then, like, they're not doing anything like a minute later, you say, this man harassed me. This ugly man, this ugly female harassed me. You can even help a long steady, hey, this guy's 5'8" or so. He was standing, now he's sitting. This guy's 5'10". I've seen him before at Green Lake Plaza. Now, I will note there is another ugly maniac, and he is at the closet. And he is in the crawl space as I've described. So I think I'm going to put a camera up in that area, possibly, or just one that gets the whole room. And I will note that these bums, when they did the genocide I talked about, they also made sure that they would remove people's property and cell phones. They made it deadly dangerous to go shopping. They basically took our existence. And what did a lot of them do? A lot of them were trained by the police to play victim. Like, let's say they threatened you with rape. So then you are spotted saying, well, I'm going to cut your peeper off. If you bring your penis near me, sorry, I said penis, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to whack you in the face if you come near me with that knife. Well, then what they're trained to do is get just the edited version where you're threatening them with bodily harm, and then they pretend that you're a racist. And then you're put on the do not help, but it's a big game anyway. It's not even, the cops don't even believe it themselves. It's a game. There's somebody out there shouting another one. Now, this stick is the only one they seem to have. You just have to make sure you don't lose both key things to it. Oh, great. Now it's got the key in another area. Yeehaw. Woo. Joy. Just love those keys. Am I going to throw away the old door stick? No. You just never know. One could bonk out. And remember, I don't have anything nice in this apartment. I keep nice crucifixes, but they're from the dollar store. I have some toy soldiers, some marbles in here. What am I doing? Taking a rubber mallet to the stick. And there's a cheap dollar store little thing at the top. So Don Blackbur's definitely here. I'd like to make a statement about Don Blackbur. It is my grotesque relative, and the secret is, and remember, these people targeted whites, white-looking Semites, and Mormons, the European. Remember, I'm not white. Don is possibly a quarter black. I may be even a quarter black. Might be a quarter. So remember, I don't like to exaggerate. So I was cautious about saying even an eighth at first until I got things figured out. It's like, duh. And, you look at my relatives. I looked at other relatives in pictures. So anyway, Dawn Blackmer's here. She's a long-time cannibal thing too, like the others in my family. And she and Larry apparently got my other family members into cannibalism. And then I believe about 14 years ago, whether anyone believes it or not, I believe people fell with Satan. And I think an ugly relative is here also. It could be my grotesque half-brother, Michael Tepper. Again, he is a bum that no one wants or likes. And there is nobody welcome near me. And even people talking to me are not really welcome near me. Let's put it that way. And I'm going to be sorting some junk from some junk. And just setting up for the night. And by the way, I'm not going to be threatening you, but you could hear retarded bums. You could hear talking of guns. For some reason, I seem to think, and remember these are different phones each time, like about every 8 months. And also, you will hear a weird sound over my service, probably hacking, and then also there's a sound on i5. But, so we'll see what you hear. So I'm updating some info on the cheap phones. They're, like I said, they're cheap phones. They're not desirable. My phones never should be desirable anyway. Why? Because I'm the type of person who says, the heck with you. I'm going to get that $79 phone that mimics that $300, $400 phone or more. It's illegal, but it's, it's going to be a cheaper brand, basically. There's a whore playing Macing brand. So Cannibal Zombies, and remember, she shouldn't even hear me. And so what she's telling you is that they've got their ear pressed up against the wall, or what else? What they're telling you is that there is illegal surveillance because people put whites, Semites, and warm-skinned Europeans even at bigger risk and white-looking by putting them under illegal surveillance. What in the heck? Oh, I thought, gee, I knew. Cheap phone cord doesn't work, but it does. It just fits. The electricity is faulty, and by the way, the plumbing, yes, I actually had to, fix the toilet. And what am I doing? I'm going to get some I'm going to sign into my new Google account. Now, there is a yellow track something, and it's Penske, as I thought. A lot of these bums will actually use all kinds of trucks to pull off kidnappings and other crimes, including moving bodies. And there's a bum yapping. Remember, also, they hang out in these green areas and crawl up, and then they've been using 207 to try to terrorize people, including clicking guns, and then they can safely go around also through trap doors and crawl spaces and try to kidnap me and even drag me to one of the places that connect to 207 or this apartment. At the very least, you have crawl spaces that go up in the closet. Oh, I have to do this. Still doing new Google things. I don't want to. Now, I will tell you because, and the horse cocking gun, and they're playing Someone Wanted Your Messages. Now, I will tell you these retardos actually have decided that they actually own what they don't own, which is people. They're so psychotic, they think that you have to pay them for everything. So there's a falsely created economic system and a falsely created karmic system. So instead of like a regular receptionist at some sort of business, sorry, I keep saying but you might actually have a receptionist that sits there and chants in gang, satanic lingo all day long. And you might actually, let's see. Well, the person might not even be doing very much work, including with smoking or taking drugs. So a lot of the businesses in Washington are sham businesses anyway. So I'm over here and charging. There is a smell of urine. And sometimes people are victims, but then also they have a lot of indigents, like I said, that will literally kill for an apartment. And they'll actually lure people here to commit crimes, including to break in and kill you or whatever, which would be me. You know, they would actually lure people to break in and kill me. So looking for my charger. There's another whore chanting and clicking a gun, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and the whores and bums like to chant about anything. So as I've been here, and there's a bum chanting below about laundry, and then a whore just chanted looking for that, and she's cocking a gun. And remember what they'll also do, and I've expressed what they'll do. Like I ran into bums, including black morons and other morons, that would actually think that you're going to agree to, quote, being indentured for $1 million. And there is a black bald male here who actually gleefully discussed that with his black Nazi friends. And he is an ugly, bald, retarded male. They all are retarded here in Washington. And then he walked through the lobby with an axe like the next day, I believe. And nothing was done. And I think it was, I'm not going to call it reverse racism. I'm going to call it what it is, racism, you know, where black people can get away with everything. And remember, I'm part black. So that's going to delight some of the masses, I think. I've even seen black people out there complaining about black people on YouTube. And by the way, yeah, so this is a big day. So I'm trying to actually set up phones. So I'm trying to set up phones. And right now it's on traffic cam, and then the other one is just hanging out, kind of accruing charge. We'll see how these hold their charge with various programs. It's actually ideal to have several camera phones. So who knows? Maybe next month I need 2 to 3. Remember I told you I was going to show off new phones. Now, the thing is, these bums will threaten you, and they like to play false relationship, including boyfriends. And false permissions, such as she wanted that male in here with her. Well, let me tell you, everybody in Washington is ugly. And just like that ugly old man downstairs, these people are ugly and retarded, and you wouldn't want them. But they constantly like to pretend you would, including like the fat-ass cannibal moron that dyes his hair blonde from gray. You want the big fat ass, you know, or you want the so-and-so. You want the ugly black monster with the face like a toilet lid. So they're dangerous. Why? And I keep saying this, because these bums don't realize how ugly they are. So they need to know how ugly they are, and these men need to be rounded up. So do the women too. It's like, no, I'm going with you. It's like, no, you're not. You're too gross. You stink. So it's like, even if you liked cannibal zombies, which I don't, you need to teach them that they're too ugly and foul. If you can't capture them as cannibal zombie freaks that nobody wants, as cannibal zombies, and if you can't capture them as criminals, I want you to try to get them arrested and committed. Why? They're ugly. Nobody wants them. Teach them. If you educated the world with, no, you can't walk off with that kid and look normal, do you know how far you would go? You don't look normal. And don't even try to make yourself look normal. And don't teach them to look normal, to do it. No, you don't look normal. Teach a few of these rapists, it's like, excuse me, I'm going to show you you're a 6 or a 2. Usually a 2 here, negative. And they like to play Johns, which is a popular game, and it's been done over and over with dirty police. They're all Johns that rape people that are not cannibal zombies. That's according to the police. They're all Johns. And we're talking with me, a person who didn't even like to touch a lot of people, and I could practically smell retardation in DNA, and it didn't prove me wrong. Why? Well, what I think happened in Washington, the gene pool was so limited by people killing white Semites and warm-skinned Europeans and white-looking, and purposely they tried to kill people that were smart, nice, and normal. And there's a whore playing Money Order, and she's in 207, and so I will let you know there is a banker that comes here, and you might say, gee, you're psychotic. No, zombies use a criminal network. And they like buildings that are convenient to cut up people and eat them, and they do Satanism, and they unfortunately torture animals. It's like their zombie Nazi processing. Like they're getting rid of people. One of the zombies actually offered me an interview, and I told him I couldn't do it yet, and I hope he still will do it. If not, I'll get another one. Oh, and there's a bum playing Whip Your Butt. There was a prostitute playing whipping, and these dirty freaks, like I said, they act like it's like they've invoked martial law, and they're retarded people. So you're basically dealing with a 30 IQ maggot, and his family's guaranteed to have been on welfare for 80 years. And it's just a guarantee. And like I even have hillbilly cousins that they're highly suspicious, even if I didn't know they were cannibal zombies. It's like, okay, everybody fell with Satan 14 years ago here. Well, how in the heck did these cannibal zombie things get these new clothes, and so-and-so has a boat, from what I hear. How do I hear he has a boat? Well, they sneak around, they hang out in the building, they're high on crack, and I'm threatened with a boat and going to my cousins constantly. And there is nobody nice or normal in Washington. Forget about it. They're gone. They're retardos. And by the way, I can't tell you how sickening these cords are. And yeah, they were sort of nicer phones than the ones I have now. But they're so sickening after spending so much time and energy trying to keep them in a charge. I just could just throw up on them. And there is another whore throwing, or actually she is cocking a gun, and she's now playing Industry Throws a Charge. So these are like Furbies. They're retarded Furbies. They spend a great deal of their day threatening people and chanting satanically and cursing. And remember, they're about 30 IQ, and they're gone. There's nothing left of the things, and they are things. They're zombies. They're playing Phil, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, they're always trying to do magic. I was trying to remember some of the magic they were trying to do earlier. Like, oh, let me tell you, get you for flying, get your blood to make me fly. Remember how mentally ill that sounds? And remember, you can get them locked up for being mental patients. How about that? That's just, just one set of moronic things I've heard today, or that they've been doing and chanting. They're retarded and they're repulsive. They're very dirty. And ironically, with all that dirt that I'm talking about, and the blood and the guts, well, they think they should have access to clean water and food after they sullied other. There is a person pounding underneath, and it is a public bathroom. And there should not be any pounding. And if you, by the way, I won't threaten you, but you might hear me cursing or doing energy activity. Like, oh, please burn the zombies up 999 trillion times a nanosecond. Or cut them up to red cellophane 999 trillion times a nanosecond. It's better than just hauling off and beating somebody up. Because guess what? If I'm outside and, let's put it this way. The dirty cops will cover up with the zombies too, including threatening you with rape, etc. That's why it was very good for me to actually start taping people in their oddball, their crazy behavior, including when they see you from a block off and your skin looks white, so they want to kill you. So that's, kind of a big one for me, where they start, or they'll start telling people that you're going in a wall because you're the devil because you have green eyes. And that's going to show you where some of your friends and relatives went. If you're out there, hello. Remember that show with the cute mouse? Well, anyway, sad. And I'm not making fun of you. So you might have somebody who came here and they're like, they broke up with you all of a sudden. And you're like, hey, wait a second. That person's different. They have a really hot temper, or they're cold. And it could even be a friend online, and you're like, I don't think that's the same person. And they'll pull red herrings on you all the time. Like, try to pretend that the victim is not the real person. That's a biggie. What am I doing? Setting up a phone to charge, and it's yet one of the other phones that kept not charging. And it's actually, it would sit there in a charger and zap energy. It's like, oh, you're plugged in, but you're at 28 and you're at 35. Okay. In fact, I'm so mad at one of my phones, I feel like, bah. I think what I might do is actually take it down or take it back to, I can't even charge them. There goes that idea. I was going to say, restore to factory settings. You can't even charge them. Fine, great. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven. Please forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. We have some water, some juice. I don't eat meat. Non-cannibal, non-zombie, non-Satanist in Washington. I've been threatened to make me into a cannibal. A lot of black people are very much into it. It's a secret culture. They've been doing it forever. They never stopped. Remember, we were to say Nazi, yeah, maybe a quarter black. And even if I weren't, I'd have the right to say whatever I want, because they seem to think they do. Not fooling around with these cords any longer. The thing is, some of them are going to still work with some things. This is going, one of them. And I hate this, and I'll tell you what is going on here. Because I'm forced to live like a homeless person, so you can see, I keep nothing in here. I've given away a lot of my possessions. I've actually increased my carbon footprint. There's a horror playing Stays By Us all day. Nobody wants any of you. You're ugly and grotesque. There's not one person that would want any of you. And you're not people any longer, including my relatives. My relatives, by the way, have played a crazy game. They played a crazy game of sneak around Lisa, commit crimes, even do money laundering, encourage other people to do so, have people rape her, have people poison her, have people torture her, and then pretend that we're devout family members. What else? And what else? Well, to have other people pretend they're family members at all, and to let them. There are other variants of the game, including You Killed Your Mother. She Killed Her Mother game. She's the one eating people game. She's the one carrying off people. And let's see what else. You Wanted in 6 states. One of the psychotic, she looked Hispanic, by the way. She was in Greenwood, Fred Meyer. She said you have a warrant. Now, what does it mean when the gang members say you have a warrant? They like to play this, even in, like, they're dealing allegedly with the invisible. And so what do I mean by that? So that would be the game of, and I'm looking for something. Sorry. So I'm looking for factory data reset. I'm not dealing with this phone anymore, but it's not letting me reset phone. Yeah, it's saying reset phone, but factory data reset. Anyway, so just various games are being played, and there is no relative, there is no nice person, there is nobody. So, Oh, so for 14 years, also I've had terrible propaganda. And like I said, if you were white-looking Semite or warm-skinned European, you would be followed around literally by hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Strange, it's not giving me an area where I can reset the phone. It's not. It says recharge it to above 30%. So if I can restore it above 30%, then I can reset it. Otherwise, and there's a poor yapping blah, 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 restore all night. And there's a waft of rotten flesh, which makes you quite glad you're not eating. And this is how I've had to live for 14 years. And it's like you could leave and then come back. Instead of coming back to a clean home, you might have had your apartment gone through by a couple to, many people in a week. Could be 300 in a week or more. There's a bum playing fed you. The gang members like to falsify relationships in order to try to charge you for things, including to drag you off. So so-and-so fed you, so-and-so gave you Christmas, my grotesque crime. They're estranged family. I don't mean like syndicate, even though they think they're kingpins, and you need to get them busted like they are. The grotesque criminals in my family like to play, oh, we were so good to you at Christmas. We've been estranged for 18 years. Some of them have been estranged, like, my stepsister. My stepdad's dead. We haven't really seen each other in 12 years. There's nothing. There is no family. And it turns out all my instincts to not want them were all correct. They were gang members. And they weren't industrious people. They were gang members with stolen identities. And my brother-in-law literally went through millions of dollars of other people's that he killed. And enslaved and tortured. They're Satanists. So they're as bad as like what you hear in the news with Satanists in other countries, like satanic gang members. No, there is nobody nice in Washington. And by the way, that noise, there was a clunking noise. I want you to know that, remember I smelled the rotten flesh? There's no guarantee that that actually wasn't a bunch of bones clattering on the floor upstairs. And so, I don't love anyone in Washington. I never will. And I really could go without seeing anybody from now on. Am I threatening them? No, it just means that I don't need anyone. I'm an abuse victim. There's a bum yammering about showers. And the showers, well, let's put it this way. Water in Washington, I was informed that, quote, Europeans got different water. And that is what I talk about all the time. Not only do people break in, think of the worst things you could do to somebody. So let's say you break in while they're sleeping. Well, with me, I've been raped, I've been injected. People with diseases purposely raped me. They'll beat you up in your sleep. They'll stab you in certain areas. The dirty healthcare professionals, including ones who come here, fake and real, will often teach morons how to target people. What do I mean by that? Well, like where to hit you so you die. Where to hit you so you're blind, deaf, dumb, or mentally deficient afterward. Where to inject you. Dr. Jaffe is usually here creeping around on crack. He doesn't even work here. He works for a different agency. And they keep people like that. They don't care. That person could have 1 million complaints about him to the state, too. They don't care. Dr. Jaffe creeps around this building on crack. He rapes people. He tortures people. He's actually, I've heard him pretending that he was here legally to operate. These bombs will hold people for captive, and there are some snuff movies, and there's a whore threatening me for, quote, trinkets, and she's cocking a gun. So I want to warn you, oh, and there's a bomb playing cheek stunt. These ugly bastards will think that you could threaten people and they're just going to walk off with you for some torture. What does he mean by cheek stunt? That's very common because they want to make the victim ugly, but it also obscures the victim. So then you can say, oh, that's not Lisa, she was pretty. Oh, she was normal looking. That's not Josephine. She used to be pretty. How about Edgar? Oh, no, he was handsome. He looked normal. And how do they achieve that one also? A popular way is putting acid in your water and other chemicals. You're sick, you're not going to look good, plus your face will be burned. One is called, something mint. Now I can't even think. But it's something mint, and it will mask that you were burnt. And then you go out in public, and then within 30 minutes after bathing or showering or washing your face, your epidermis of your face is swollen, like the worst sunburn you've ever had. There's glass that they'll put on people. And then the boogeyman, remember, then they'll think you're going to be that, you're so desperate, you actually, well, then what? You're going to go off with them because you're going to be desperate. So you're going to go off with the boogeyman. And that's the ugly black Nazi, or, that looks like a toilet lid face. And then, or the white guy that looks like a grub with a skull face. Like, one who comes here who likes to rape people with to give them hepatitis, and he likes playing with bodily fluids. You can guess which one. There's a whore playing raped for this. These bombs think they can punish people for their very existence. So a whore's playing raped for being gone. They'll play raped for food bank, tortured for food bank, tortured for this, money on them. And then they like to launder back and forth like they'll pretend you spent money, including this indenturing business of you owe $1 million. So you owe $1 million allegedly? And they'll even add in something for the invisible. Remember, they're psychotic. And guess who's in on crap like that? The dirty cops. They'll even tell you shot people in the invisible and killed their children and killed their wife or whomever. And it's like, excuse me, you don't have a wife. Excuse me, you don't have children. That's a popular one, too, because these zombies are very manipulative. You killed my children. What is you killed my children, usually? Or she took my children. That is a child molester who's capturing children and or had access to capturing them, but you told on him, or you did something where he couldn't drag you off and indenture you, well, it's in slavery, to capture children with him. So you took his children. It's very popular. Another one that's popular because these things are whiny and manipulative. What's another one? She didn't want me to have any gainful. She didn't want me to have employment. I'm drinking water in case you're wondering. Sounds gross, but I'm thirsty. I don't drink enough water. You even have to watch water in Washington because these cannibal zombies will try to put cannibalism in everything. Oh, and then the devil worshippers, they like to call me that devil thing. That devil thing. And remember, they chop up people, they eat them, they drink blood, and they're playing You're a Perp already. What they like to do, the retardos like to force people into a crime or into a victim slot. One of the ways they'll do it is portray that it already happened. Like it's a visible way of running time illegally. So the person tortured in the wall allegedly had a facelift. This is going to be on snuff movies, I know it. And I've heard them bragging, and they threatened me. They stuffed you into a wall, they cut your face off. Sorry, I'm not going to go into more gruesome detail. Then they send a video out, or put it on the net. Look, she's so beautiful. And we did this to her, and she's gorgeous, and she's going to be a model now. We made her face, we gave her collagen injection. What's that all about? It was a beautiful or a normal person to begin with. Then they're pretending they made that person. But here's the invisible aspect of it, the paranormal belief. They're psychotic, and they will actually convince other zombies. Like, some of them will say, she's a valuable. What are they talking about? A valuable. She's a valuable. That one's been played on me before. What's a valuable? That's somebody that they think they've made out of chakras or spirit, they think. She's a valuable. Oh, and the bum's chanting, I'm going to put a curse on her. La, 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 you better believe it. I'm going to put a curse on her. La, 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 la. You know, remember, it's not any much more than listening to someone with gas, and it's talking. If you know what I mean. The butt. It's nothing. Oh, la 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 la. Oh, la 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 la. Sorry, that's vulgar, but that's the zombie. Drinking water. Installing updates for the other phone. One of the bums hiding and lurking, including around the crawl space, is an ugly male. He parks his truck out to the side alongside the freeway. He dyes his hair blonde. He has kind of a big butt. He's ugly. Thinks he's attractive. Remember, that's what's left after they got done with the genocide, because practically all these ugly people, including my grotesque family, got to kill whomever they wanted. So, it's like, she's pretty, let's get her. I've been threatened, people would chop out my cheekbones. Then they walk around, like I said, they'll follow you around telling you how ugly they are too, and they'll pretend you shot up. That's another way they get rid of your identity, if they can pretend you're somebody that you're not. There's a bum playing oral. These things are satanic. They are gross. They're foul. They'll spend a lot of their days talking about the genital area. Whether it's mutilating or raping somebody or touching themselves, they spend a lot of their time, including morons next door. They're all rapists. Nobody goes there that's not a rapist, and he's a rapist. The females are even rapists. Never forget that also the females are rapists. There's an ugly bum chanting. It's an ugly Hispanic male. You can't tell his pupils from his irises because he's usually high. What he's going to argue with you about. He's going to tell you that that he isn't ugly and that he's gorgeous, and people will believe him when he drags you off, basically. And he's actually argued with me from 207. He's like, no, I am not ugly, and people will believe me. That type of argument. I am not. I'm not. Remember, they may be ugly. But you know what? Still, nobody's ugly enough for Washington. I don't care if you're the tomato blob thing from a 1950s movie, you're not ugly enough for Washington. It's gross. There's nobody. Believe me. Remember, also, I have asthma, allergies, chemical sensitivities, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, bleeding ulcers, a bad back, arm, a cop tried to break. Remember, I'm threatened every day. Oh, there was a whore at Fred Meyer. She actually told me I was going to be a maid bringing flowers to her as well. So there's a popular, it's a redundant theme of punish you to punish you. So you're going to, buy her flowers and pretend it's your friend kind of thing. Was she anybody? No, she's stinky, smelly DNA. There's a bum yapping from below. You're going to cut up a sea lion or something. Remember, these are into animal cruelty. Your granny's a sea lion, and so are all your ancestors. So a good curse is, by the way, and that's one of the things I like to do is curse these things. Make sure all their ancestors get punished. Make sure that they get punished. Put them in the bodies of those tortured victims. Even if it ended up in somebody's belly. Yeah, that's it. Put a curse on it. That's why I don't eat meat, even though I, have nosebleeds all night and I wake up like today. My hands were sticky with blood and I had blood encrusted in my nose. But I don't eat meat because why? Even though my blood will leak like water sometimes, because I don't want to end up accidentally eating a person or a tortured animal. So the best way to avoid any kind of, wondering, well, what is this meat? Then there's no question, because I don't want your meat. I don't want it. And I'm sure that since they're all cannibal zombies, that is probably how even more of them get killed, if you know what I mean. If they're so worried, because they're also very worried about people eating. It's like they have this weird belief system, and it's not even true. It's like, oh, she's going to eat our meat from the food bank or fish or something. We won't have any. These are people sometimes that don't even want the fish. In fact, tuna fish, beans, and what else? Tuna fish, beans, stinky cheese, peanut butter, almond butter, that'll go on the food bank shelves, it'll spoil. I've seen some of it with years. It'll be on there years. It's like, how do you know? We'll pick up the can, it's years old, okay? So, So I'm sure maybe if I were searching for meat, and now I'll tell you it's gotten worse. I'm laughing. It's not a nice laugh because it's also about me being menaced and harmed. I'm just wondering how much more menaced I would have been eating meat. And competing at like day centers for the food, which I won't now because there's cannibalism in it. And they bragged to me about it. And it's too easy to get cannibalism here. You just, like, you have to worry how they cook the meat can disguise it. Barbecuing could disguise it. Other flavors could disguise it, including bacon grease, chicken grease. They might cook 5 roasts side by side in the, in the oven, some on the top or bottom. I'm not there anymore because I'm not involved in kitchens. I don't like kitchens now. I gave away my kitchen stuff because of cannibalism concerns. So I'm just laughing almost because they're all cannibal zombies. It's like if I ate at their lunches and, I eat such a paltry amount that I eat, canned foods a lot of the time and sealed things or some produce. You have to be careful with the produce. They'll touch it. They'll inject it. So I'm now wondering how much more I would have been menaced if I sat down eating their food with them. And even if I'd stayed to like vegetarian, which is still not safe because all the utensils are going to be sullied. And there was a thud in a weird area. And there's a thud underneath. And I heard somebody making a spitting noise, and it was kind of up near the floor. And that's not normal for a public bathroom. There really shouldn't be that much activity in a public bathroom. But anyway, if I were competing for, just saying, well, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to just count on the fact that I have to have beef and chicken. And I won't even eat chicken because I know you can feed chickens a variety of feed and they'll eat it, if you know what I mean. And I had read, actually it was on the bus a few years ago and I tried to track it down. People were feeding alleged Humane Society animals to the chickens. So I tried to find out more, but then the company wouldn't talk to me about it. And then they pulled the ads. And, you try to go to organic, you try to do this. And so I just gave up on meat. Fish, you have to be careful with fish. They'll try to sneak things in. It's scary. So, yeah, I'm just thinking, gosh, it's lucky I don't eat at those places, too. They'd probably, because they want to serve you up right there anyway. I'm sure some of them end up in the soup while they're eating soup. There's a whore chanting roommate in the closet area. So I'm going to turn around the phone in a minute, and I'm going to actually download some programs on this other one. And I will be honest with you, these cannibals, they want to put cannibalism in everything. Why? Because they're trying to curse you and drag you down. So I also, now going back to the past, I've heard that my mother tried cannibalism in the 60s. Or wait, then I heard 80s. So it's like I'm hearing different boasts. And now I'm hearing a different story, lately. And so it's like, I don't know. So anyway, I don't trust even my mother. And my mother's been dead for 20 years. And, it's not like she's standing next to me. And I wouldn't want her to now because of what she gave birth to. Ugh. Monsters. And I also hate all the people I ever knew. Why? They're apparently all cannibal zombies. Even in other states, my family made sure they reached out and converted them to zombies. There was a guy, Eddie Caffer. He was up from Old Well Hotel. I don't know if he's gone yet. And cute old-fashioned motel, Old Well Motel. I used to go there when I was a kid. Small, dry town population, 64, 68, Amador County. Very artistic, a wine country, golden grass, not too far from the Little House on the Prairie filming, I would believe. That golden grass and the oak trees. That kind of scene. Sorry, I know it's copyrighted. I didn't say it on purpose. But anyway, so Amador City, beautiful old, a lot of history in the ghost towns. Some of them not ghost towns, really. And then, so this Eddie Caffer, he inherited his parents' probably his diner. And it was a motel. And probably his brother got some of the benefits. I would know because I wasn't there when they, their parents are probably dead. But, well, apparently even that's ruined as well with cannibal zombieism. And I remember calling him up about 14 years ago or talking to him. And he had this weird zombie voice. I wasn't sure what was going on right then, but I was fairly certain it had been like genocide. But there's been more genocide. But he had this weird voice, and he said something like, "It's too late." And I wasn't trying to date him or anything else. It's just a sort of like he was telling me it was too late in this weird, hollow voice. He's dead. They're all dead here. So that was the sad end of a cute place. So just fixing my phones. There's a bump that's here, and it's Elizabeth Gregory's home, and it's a transgender blonde with some acne scars. She's here. I could hear her sneaking around. Him, actually. Remember, I don't have anything politically correct for Washington's blonde. It's just one big evil head. I don't care if you're purple. You stink. And I don't want it. And all the men look like women, and all the women look like men to me anyway. So who cares? You're all dead. Nothing to say. Now you might say, why are you on YouTube? Well, this is like a security camera and a diary. And I do postings, and I'm quite brash. But it's actually survival. When you're in a building where people have painted in blood in the bathroom, and when there are trapdoors, and the closet alarm goes off all the time. That's a separate alarm, I will have you know. So it looks like I'm down 90%. Let's see if it holds stable at 90. I'm talking about that. My feet are tired. I need to possibly get some cheap boots. Oh, and by the way, nobody's asking for money. And if anyone ever asks for money on my channel, contact the FBI. Why? Because it's not that type of channel. I'm just here to shock you and tell you the truth. And, show you a story. Now remember, you're going to hear me cursing some of these, and I'll also repeat what they're saying, which can be rather violent. Now I like to tell you sort of the word of the day that the morons are playing. They're playing Anwar. So a lot of these retards like to play different words back and forth. Like, let's say they'll play Muslims and blame. What are they doing when they play Muslim? They're blaming Muslims. So don't be offended. I'm telling you what they're doing. They'll play Hebrew. They have nothing to do with Hebrews. And even if now I'm part Jewish, but some of these bombs that are involved with people who targeted their own kind. Like, let's say you're white, but you're in with black Nazis, targeting whites. Well, you get other people that are targeting their own kind as well. So don't be offended, I'm just telling you the truth. But today they're playing Anwar, and they were targeting Italians and Irish, and then somebody who was here earlier, Randy Whittier, she was being instructed that they were calling shooting Italians. So to get that, they were calling, it's like a code. It was shooting or guns. Can't remember now. I think shooting at someone is Italians, they said. Something like that. But I posted it. It's on my Google account. So there's the record, because I'm hearing... one time I had a list of like all the words I'd heard for code, or not all, but as much as I could, like frantically scribbling it down. It became so hard to keep notebooks. So just basically note that these bums will play a code of using words out of context. They will bastardize them, and they will add cutesy ly endings. Like, it'd be like a version of like in how people used to talk in Pig Latin, and you're not supposed to know what it is. So, I'm going to add ly, and you'll never know it means glass on someone because it's glassly. Knifely. Got a knifely ready. Axely. Got an axe. Gonna get Lisa Guthrie with some glassly. We'll call her glassly now. So then it goes on, including again with this invisible territory. What's the invisible territory? Well, where they're trying to move the victim then into the position of being cursed. So today I was called a Mexican, which is not unusual. And they have weird, there were people insisting last week something about Labor Day and everybody's an Indian. And so, it's just crazy, psychotic crap. So if you can't get them rounded up for doing a crime, I'm telling you, the code, you can get them rounded up. Why? Well, just like with Alzheimer's people or people that are deficient, and it's like, oh, I'm mentally slipping and I'm using the word Wednesday for everything. And then you'll never know what day the crime will be committed because I called everything Wednesday. Well, I think the person who says everything is Wednesday or Sunday, they need to be rounded up because they're mentally deficient. Do you like my advice for that? Do you like my advice? Do you think they're mentally deficient if they call everything Sunday? How about you're going to be my slave and do my laundry? Well, what does that mean when someone wants you to be their slave and do their laundry? And they talk like this, some of them. Or like I call it like a sewage burbling sound. But, or, the other. But anyway, so if they can't do their own laundry, what does that tell you? You can round them up then because they're insane. And I'm guaranteeing a lot of them will stink anyway. So what do? Mr. Bad criminal gets shots. He gets in a mental hospital. He gets his feet chained together because he's dangerous. You pop him on meds. You keep him that way. And then maybe there's something. Then you keep him that way till he gets busted. So, Mr. Badass, who's killed 6,000 people or whatever with people, his group, then you've got him in the insane asylum and you've got him on a chain medicated. It's better than nothing. Because he's raped and tortured. I'm basically talking about everybody in Washington. Just one big evil head. Talking about their you-know-whats. Constantly touching themselves and constantly trying to rape people too. You should see the larva. There was I think even a white-looking larva guy who pointed at his, you-know-what. They think you're just going to go toddle over for them. They're going to get a surprise. And remember, you can get those people busted. How ugly is that? They're retarded. They're ugly. Who would want those? Not anyone. It's like, excuse me, you're too ugly to talk to women like that. So it's, let's have some education. I'll tell you, I had to argue with my phone service today. When I bought the phones, why? Well, I'll tell you what, they wouldn't admit that the phones were $49. They've been $39. They went up to $49. They wouldn't admit it that they were $49. They said they were $59. So I'm not even sure about the change of service fee. Oh, one of the bums is chanting, and I can hear him. He's playing raped like or for a girlfriend of mine. They like to chant hurt for so-and-so, harm for so-and-so. You're going to be a slave for so-and-so. A person earlier was saying, I borrowed a C-spot. I obligated her. What do you do when someone obligates you? Well, you're going to call the police. Why? Because it's not your problem. I don't even care if it looks like a nice old lady and they come up to you and say, oh, because of you, and you don't know them. Somebody told me to spend $10,000 so they could have a maid. Well, here's what you do. You say, oh, let's go to the police department together and let's tell them the story. She's going to run away. It's not going to go with you. It's a game. And remember, in Washington, a lot of these 80-year-olds or 60-year-old meth heads that just look 80. And what's the first thing the gang members want to do? Even from dead people's clothing, you're going to make those people look like they're a little more respectable. So it's your new granny, you know, in a cardigan. So if somebody tells you that you're obligated, you tell them to, yeah, let's go to the police department. And if they get aggressive, you can also call 911 and say, call 911 and say something to the effect of, well, you know, maybe you need some mental health care, I'd like to help you. Would you like me to call 911 for you and you can get this sorted? But stand back because they do get violent. So somebody tells you you're obligated and they're acting crazy and telling you that Mr. Big Bad Guy is saying, well, you know, you owe me this money. Well, you could ask them, I don't know, maybe, now remember I'm not an expert. Remember this can blow up in your face. But if you think it could go your way favorably and they're not going to get too violent, and I want you to stand back when you do it. Stand back. So you could ask them if they needed help with something and needed someone. They sound like they're in crisis, but stand back. And I'm also thinking, you know, because I'm not trained in this. I'm not trained. So I'm just looking at a program. But you can consult and you could actually find out the best way to deal with it. But, you know, calling 911 would probably be your first course of action. That's not, actually, if you want to know something, that's probably wisest rather than engaging. I'm thinking 911. Remember, I'm not an expert. I'm thinking 911 and, yeah, and, you know, you don't even have to betray your hand, but you're going to help that woman who cheated her. Let's go call 911 for you. You don't even have to betray your hand. Get it? Then you're not arousing their ire. Isn't that nice? So I'm trying to make it less dangerous for you to unveil the gang member morons. So don't do what I do. I have a hot temper, and I like to throw fits, and I like to yell and call them names and insult them. That's not recommended. Got it? And, you know, I'm basically the person who's going to also go off on them, and I'm ready to go. But I am going to mock them. So that's not recommended course of action. And what you need to do is study self-defense. Remember, nobody taught me how to deal with this. And I'm an abuse victim. So I'm going to respond differently than a lot of people. Remember, you can help that old lady that thinks she's going to get a maid, and it's like, what? You're not my maid? I spent $20,000. It's like, it's not my problem. I just heard somebody hurting a cat. So remember, and call 911. You don't want to leap at them like I do either at the man. It's like, what? You want me to be a slave? I want to leap on your head. Because you're threatening me and you're saying I'm going to go with you, so I'm going to leap on your head. I don't care that you've got a pit bull, but I'm going to leap on your head. I don't think you should do that. It's not safe. So, but read the self-defense courses, you know. With me, you're dealing with a Scorpio. November 8th. So I'm just going to another box and I'm going to, check battery. I'm going to take a little rest. So remember, I'll turn around the other broadcast the window, excuse me, and you'll see a dirty floor. Don't worry about the floor. I don't spend time here worrying about the floor. My boots are big sloppy boots. There's a reason why I don't take off my boots. Oh, this is Lisa Guthrie, 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle, Washington, 98115. Whoops, I have to run this. Just going to paste in. This is Lisa Guthrie, 505 Northeast 70th Street, Seattle, Washington, 98115. And I want you to know this is a security camera of a hot spot. People in this building like to crawl up a crawl space. And it's actually from the green area of the building. And then what they do is try to break in. And they stand there, they'll pop guns and try to terrorize. It's called Reef Lake Plaza Apartments. Very, very bad place. So what am I doing? I'm going to go rest. I'm going to leave this on video. You will hear me. Now, note, you won't hear me. I won't be the one threatening you. If you hear voices, they're not normal, rational people. You've got 207. He's crazy. People crawl up into his room via a crawl space and trap doors. He's nuts. You might hear people going by the front door. You'll hear me commenting to another camera in that location. If you hear anybody talking to you and stating, oh, we're police, we're wonderful, police is bad, just know everybody is a cannibal zombie in Washington. There is nobody here. It's like I'm the only person with a bunch of vile things. It's like possessed jackals from an evil movie. Anyway, so I will spend more time in this room, and I'm going to turn around this camera, and for the purposes of just noting the date, remember it's March 2nd, 2018. And it's Seattle, Washington, so the time is 8:30 p.m. And if you hear unusual noises or you see anybody else in the apartment but me, if I were you, I would call FBI in another state. I would call the president. These people are just cannibal zombies. There's nobody here that's normal or nice. And nobody is allowed in my apartment. And there's at least one dirty cop here. And I think it's Officer Bobby. And sometimes he has his deficient son as well. His deficient, retarded son is here. And let's see, Officer Bobby. Then there's Dr. Jaffe, usually slinking around on crack. He's here, and his abnormal freak son is usually playing cop in KGB and other games as well. But remember, they also think that they're in the KGB because they played it so long. They're all psychotic here. There's a whore playing whip, blah, 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 yeah. Remember, the bums in Washington have turned it into, it's like a cannibal, third world country of morons. There is nobody nice, nobody normal. You know, when I go places, you might even hear me speaking to people. Well, it's like I woke up 14 years ago and people were, you know, here, and you still have traffic signs, you still have libraries and things like that, but you've got cannibal zombies. And so no, if you hear anyone, they're not nice or normal, you will hear me repeating what they're saying sometimes, and you will hear me praying and doing energy exercises or relating about what's happening or what's happened before. So I'm trying to think. Usually have some things available. My chest is hurting. Now I'm going to look at the traffic, actually. So I'm going to turn out the lights to look at the traffic. There's a bum yapping, and he's making a threat. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so you hear this constantly. You also hear a lot of yammering, of repetitive crap. And they're trying to do magic. They are zombies. They are Satanists. And the bum is playing, I'm instantly going to innocent. I don't know what I'll do. So what does he mean and what does he think he's doing? Now, what he thinks he's doing is actually, he thinks he's going to make everybody who said, I don't know what I'll do, into innocent seeming people. And remember, these are not innocent people. He's a moron zombie. He's a moron. Don and Larry Blackmore are here. I like to tell the names of these people. They basically did a genocide of 31 million people in 20 years. So there's nobody normal, nobody nice. Don't even think that there would be. They targeted white-looking, Semite, and one European. Now I'm surprised that my alarm doesn't go off because I've been walking around. Looks like a car just... That's really...